Raven, we did a report for lead existing building operations and maintenance certification for the EMCS. I know we talked about leads last time. We have reports, and this is kind of doing off that, except a different subsection of it. My outline for today is I'm going to go over the background, and a whole lot of this project is going to give more background than usual because half of our experiment was split up, but also because we weren't able to do the green cleaners, but also because we had to give a lot of background in order for you to kind of understand why we have the data we have, and while a lot of it isn't really quantitative, much of it had to be qualitative based on the processes and a lot of other things we had to analyze throughout the experiment. The objectives, environmental health and safety, methodology, data analysis, discussions, conclusions, and then finally the references. The background is UTC Facilities Planning Management. They wanted to get assistance in compiling data for the existing building operations management certification for this building. And as I said last time, LEED is leadership in energy and environmental design. And the certification is administered through the United States Green Building Council. And the goal of the agency is to promote sustainable building while simultaneously maximizing operating efficiency and minimizing environmental impacts. And just a little bit of background on the MCS. It's approximately 203,300 feet squared, 4 stories, and then the 5th floor mechanical housing. There are 4 certification levels for the leads, and the first one is just to be certified with points of 40 through 49, and I think you really actually don't get recognition until silver, from which is 50 to 59, gold 60 to 79, and platinum 80. And the Architectural Energy Corporation, as we talked about before, came last August, and they found 39 credits that they could mark as yes for us, which doesn't mean that we've already gotten those. If we were to apply for them and go through the lead certification process, 39 of them would pretty much be marked yes, and 32 is maybe, which means they are possible and heavily pursued, kind of like our experimental project that we did today. This means we had a pretty good chance of starting out with silver certification, given that we really pursue, you know, almost, I mean, half of the 32 maybes, which takes a whole lot of work, so we can start off with silver certification if we really work hard over the next year or two. And just to give a background, Emory University is the school with the largest amounts of LEED certification buildings, I think, per square foot of campus. And their math and science building has a silver certification, and 78% of the waste is of recycled materials. So I'll go more over that later. This is the subdisciplines. Earlier was a focus on water efficiency, and today we're focused on the materials and resources. And the materials and resources, EMCS is able to get 10 credits from this section, and of course it says we need 50 for silver certification, so 10 of our points come from this section out of the 6 sections. And we're working on the solid waste management and the sustainable purchasing policies within the materials and resources. Unfortunately for this experiment, not much information was collected for the sustainable purchasing. Although some information is retrieved about UTC surplus, where they send unused furniture and unused materials, whether it be pumps, different stuff like that can be used again and auctioned off to the community, and the 5th floor ag, MCS. And most of the information was collected for the solid waste management, pertaining to the ongoing consumables, whether it be paper, stuff like that. And then you have some durable goods as far as stuff that we found in the dumpster, stuff that would be used again, or that could have been sent to UTC surplus, maybe if it was usable. The analysis is based on the building performance, not exactly the design expectations. For ours, it's not based on the design expectations of the building, and it's based on the process and fate of the waste, and not the duration. We're just trying to get a map out of process of what happens, and or how we control the waste or divert it to other places besides the places that are going now. The objectives, to evaluate the building's waste stream in order to divert materials from landfills and incinerators, and instead push them to reuse and recycle programs. We first configure the amount of waste by weighing the full bag of paper, plastics, paper, bottles, cans, and then mixed trash, configure the amount of waste in the dumpster by observing the dumpster level daily, and listing the durable goods we found there. And then we had to work directly with Sustainable Coordinator, Lisa Darger, who we talked about before, and work with the janitorial staff in order to figure out the pattern and how trash was disposed of. And the whole goal of it for LEADS is to educate others on the findings of our study. And I mean, we can do this experiment where we have to educate students, all occupants of the building, professors, janitorial staffs, and sustainability coordinator, and on from there. Environmental health and safety, not much since we just did walkabouts, so, and just long sleeves and pants. And the methodology is, first we had to contact and meet with Lisa Darger to understand the certification process, and then we interviewed the different janitorial staffs, and we contacted Sue Garnett, the space data specialist. Just realized how weird that sounds, but what she does is she runs UTC surplus and figures out what to do with unused goods. And then we contacted Charles Scott, who's the Director of Business Services, about unused furniture, and he does all the purchasing for the school. Lastly, we had to contact Sam Dickey from DocuShred for the concealed containers that are on this floor, documents that are supposed to be shredded, in order to find out the mass of the shredding bin, since we couldn't physically take them out because of confidentiality. We kept a schedule of when the dumpster is taken out and when the trash and recyclables are taken out. And we observed the dumpster daily, and we kind of gauged it by doing it by thirds of how full it was. We weighed the bags of mixed trash like I talked about earlier, count the amount of trash bins and cans in the MCS list the type, whether it's bottles, paper, from there, and then calculate the amount of trash taken out 4 weeks in a 4-week span, along with the percent of trash taken out that is recyclables. The interview info, we contacted 2 custodial members, Sylvia and Sonia, and they said full trash ranges from about 75% to 100% full bin capacity, but although that's what they say is when they take it out, when it's about that full, most of the trash is taken out simultaneously. So that made the numbers be pretty skewed, because even one time I walked by the cans and there was about 3, 4 in there, and it had been taken within 30 minutes and put in the trash bin. And I would count that as a full bag in my data. So a lot of the numbers are approximate. We got it the best that we could. This did it because they said it was easy. Well, explained that it was more efficient to take them all out at the same time. The sustainability coordinator, Lisa Darger, talked about the recyclables are set out separately by the curb outside, and to only count the amount taken in the hallways at night, and to not count the trash taken in the different professors' buildings, rooms and offices, because they, under LEADS, can do whatever they want with the trash, and so we have to just separate that because we don't want to double count. Also, Sue Garrett said the UTC surplus auction happens once every quarter. So when we get the unused furniture and other materials and durable goods sent to UTC surplus, they get rid of that once every quarter. And Charles Scott said it's very difficult to keep track of unused furniture because of the movement of employees, hirings of adjuncts, and the irregular amounts of durable goods received. So even though we can get something within these 4 weeks, it's not a good count. And he said, honestly, there hasn't been that much received and that much taken in the last 4 weeks. And so there wasn't really a good read on that either. But Sam from DocuShred said the bin is emptied about 3 times a semester, 9 times a year, and the bin holds about 275 to 300 pounds. Okay, now here's our observations. The dumpster observations over the 4-week period shows that the trash is taken out 6 times, and where the not available is where we couldn't make it down to that town, we couldn't make readings on Sunday or one Saturday. But from the way the data played out, it still hadn't been taken yet anyway, so it didn't play a significant role. It was taken out 6 times in a period of 4 weeks. And the observation for the trash bins is that it was empty about, I think it's 10 times in 2 weeks. It's taken out about 2.5 times a week. Here's the actual quantitative data that we have. When we weighed the bins we walk by at night and check and count, and got pretty much the same amount of bins every time if you take the trash out. They prop up the door with it. And on all 4 floors of the MCS in both buildings, there's 48 large bins, 13 paper bins, 11 trash bins, 3 plastic bins, and 1 aluminum bin. And the weight contents are given, and they're approximate, of course, because they're based on if the bag is full and if it's taken when it's full. And the times emptied were 10 each across the board. And the mass of trash is given, multiplied the number of bins, times emptied, and the weight of the contents. So that's about how much pounds of each was emptied, approximately how much pounds of each was emptied in the last 4 weeks. And the total mass of trash is about 13,000 pounds in 4 weeks. And our recyclable trash to mixed trash was 15.6%. The durables in the dumpster, there really wasn't that much at all in the last 4 weeks, but what is given here. There's 6 items. And discussions of limitations, I've discussed some of the limitations already, but the communication with custodial personnel was difficult since we're only here for about 3 hours a day, me and Raven. The trash was taken out when things weren't full, which complicated calculations, and not much information was given about purchasing policy, which is half the credits in the materials and resources side of the credits. So it was difficult not to be able to get some of that data because it varied too much over time in a 4-week period. It was difficult to do. And we couldn't get to the NCS every weekend to make calculations on when the trash was taken out and when the dumpster had been emptied. And there are hardly any set standards for the amount of trash and recyclables LEED says that have to leave a building. We can give the percentage of the recyclables that were taken out, but at the same time, they don't give a set number. And I think a lot of it is you submit the report at the beginning and then you build from there, and it's an educating process to the occupants in the building. And conclusions, as what I just said about LEED focusing more on education than the actual amount of trash recycled. And if we look at our recycled content compared to Emory University, and they have silver, which is still 2 levels below the highest rate you can get. They had 78% recyclables, and then we had 15.6. The dumpster was usually taken when it was around full, so that was a good thing. When they would, it wouldn't be like the trash cans, which we couldn't get a good reading on. And the trash bins all seem to be emptied around 2.5 tons a week, and the amount of durable goods found was less than expected. And there's my references. Any questions?